IBS, Irritable Bowel Syndrome. 10% of the world's population struggles with it, which is a huge number. But what really is IBS? A lot of people have a confusion about this. Any symptoms such as bloating, constipation, gastric, diarrhea is not necessarily IBS. IBS is mostly categorized as having two conditions, ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. And most often, if you have any one of this, basically meaning inflammation in your gut lining, you will be aware of it. You'll have symptoms as extreme as anal rectum bleeding. So you would know if you have symptoms of ulcerative colitis and Crohn's. But what if you just have constipation or diarrhea, bloating? Is that also IBS? I intend to resolve some of your myths in this video and also help you make smarter choices in terms of how do you deal with gut problems. This is Roshni Sangvi. I'm a nutrition and fitness expert and I help people heal through food. Let's discuss if you have constipation. Does that mean you have IBS? Or if you keep alternating between constipation and diarrhea, then does it mean you have IBS? Well, most often when you're alternating between constipation and diarrhea, you might have a condition called overflow diarrhea. Overflow diarrhea is when your constipation is so extreme that nothing except liquids come out. So you might have constipation for 2 to 3 days and then one episode of diarrhea and again going back to constipation for a few days. How do you deal with constipation itself? Most often when you have constipation, there could be multiple reasons, a few of them being the motility of your gut is not good. So the peristalsis movement, the movement of your gut lining which pushes the food down, that's not working optimally. And if that's the case, you want to work in terms of improving the motility of the gut. The food choices you make could be leading to constipation. We all know, of course, a low fiber diet. If you're not eating enough fiber in your diet, then that could be the reason for constipation. Should you then start including a lot of fiber into your diet? Not necessarily. If you have constipation, you want to deal with the symptoms of constipation first before making any major nutritional change, because any major nutritional change which you might make may make your constipation symptoms worse. So first and foremost, deal with constipation, manage constipation, and then make major nutrition changes. Because we are on the topic of constipation, do things like enemas work for constipation management? Well, think about it. An enema is going to wipe out a lot of the gut microbiome, the good gut bacteria and the bad gut bacteria. But most importantly, the good gut bacteria. If you don't have enough good gut microbiome population, then that's going to cause more constipation and more gastric distress in the future. Besides motility, the second major reason for constipation could be something called gut dysbiosis. Dysbiosis just means that you have more bad bacteria in the gut than good. Like I said, first deal with constipation first and then work with an expert in terms of understanding how you can skew the balance towards the good bacteria and not so much bad bacteria. What are some of the nutritional changes for people struggling with IBS? If there's top 3 things I would suggest everyone to drop, irrespective of your symptoms, be it constipation, diarrhea, bloating, gastric, or diagnosed ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, it would be to drop artificial sweeteners and sugars. Any form of artificial sweeteners can destroy a lot of your good gut bacteria, thus leading to your symptoms getting worse. Second, drop dairy. Dairy is highly inflammatory. It causes inflammation in your gut lining and you can't digest dairy. Humans don't digest dairy, so you should not be drinking dairy or have dairy byproducts. And third is alcohol. Imagine alcohol, when you sprinkle some alcohol on your skin, you destroy, like when you have a wound and you put alcohol, you're putting alcohol on your skin to kill all the bacteria on the surface of the wound. Imagine that alcohol, when you drink it, consume it, what it's doing to your gut lining. You don't want to be consuming alcohol when you have symptoms of gut distress. What kind of diet should you be following? Now this depends if you really have ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, or you could have other diseases of the gut. You could have things like H. pylori, infection. H. pylori is an infection. You could have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. You could have celiac disease. Depending on what your condition is, things will change. But one thing keeps popping up again and again, and that's a low FODMAP diet. A low FODMAP diet or a low FODMAP protocol is basically avoiding foods which are harder to digest. FODMAPs are categories of foods which are harder to digest by the gut, and consuming foods which are easier to digest, so staying low FODMAP. But you don't go low FODMAP for the rest of your life. If there's something which is the biggest predictor of gut health, it's plant diversity, having as much diversity in terms of the food you're eating. If you're restricting your food choices to only some foods and restricting a lot of foods not to be eaten, then that's further reducing the diversity of the good bacteria in the gut. Your gut should be so strong that you can eat anything what you want in terms of plants, and it should be able to digest that. Don't restrict food items. Low FODMAP diet is restrictive, so don't follow a low FODMAP diet for a very long time. But low FODMAP diet can be helpful for some people struggling with gut dysbiosis, issues like constipation, bloating, IBS, and other diseases. But you don't want to follow a low FODMAP diet for longer than 4 weeks. Thus, work with a nutritionist who understands how to take you from a low to a medium FODMAP and medium to an all FODMAP diet, or include all kinds of foods. This process of moving from low to medium and medium to high could take anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks or even longer in some people, but that's okay. You don't want to stick to low FODMAP for the rest of your life because those are the only foods which are not causing any symptoms. That's not healing your body, that's band-aiding a wound, and that's not a long-term solution. What about medication? Things like proton pump inhibitors. These are mostly suggested to clients with IBS. These are some of the common examples which you see your doctors suggesting. Proton pump inhibitors taken for a long time do have side effects. They can again destroy a lot of your good gut microbiome, and it's not a permanent solution. It's again just band-aiding the wound. Even taking Ayurvedic supplements like Triphala for a long time is not suggested. Most of these supplements, you don't know where it's being packaged and harvested and stored and packed and sold to you. It could have a lot of heavy metals, and taking them on a long term means heavy metal accumulation in the body, and that could be dangerous, leading to more problems. You want to make sure that you're not taking or minimally taking supplements and medication, and you work with regard to healing your disease with a good nutrition plan instead, and lifestyle modification changes instead. Can everyone go medicine free? In most cases, there might be some people who might have to depend on proton pump inhibitors for a long time, but in very rare cases, you will be able to reverse the disease once you start working on nutritional changes. Is there a potential link between IBS and anxiety or depression? I have personally seen this in clients, and I would not go to the extent and say clinical depression is because of IBS. I don't think so, but bad gut can strongly affect your mood. Serotonin, which is your happy hormone, is produced in the gut. Granted that not all of the serotonin is going to your brain makes its own serotonin, but a bad gut can be a cause of inflammation. Inflammation itself is a marker for low mood. So you could experience symptoms of depression and anxiety because of a bad gut, which is why it's very important to stop band-aiding the wound and trying short-term solutions like enemas and proton pump inhibitors versus working with someone it takes a long time, but working with someone to help fix your gut issues once and for all. What about taking a probiotic supplement? Do probiotic supplements help with IBS management? Probiotics are just the names of the good bacteria in your gut, and when you take a probiotic, you're only temporarily increasing the population of the good bacteria in the gut, but within 24 hours you'll poop it out. So probiotic is again not a permanent solution, but taking a prebiotic supplement. Prebiotics are food for the probiotic bacteria. So prebiotic supplements and prebiotic foods like fiber-rich foods feed the good bacteria in the gut, and when the good bacteria are fed, they multiply themselves and they grow, they thrive, they start growing in population. So you want to focus on getting a good prebiotic supplement. Here are a few examples, and including foods which are rich in prebiotics. Don't take a probiotic supplement. You could take it for a short term, but on a long term it is not suggested. I have written a detailed blog for IBS management with a detailed meal plan, which a lot of you can use as a starting point to start following. It is a low FODMAP meal plan. I'll leave a link to the same below in the description of this video. Make sure to check this out. Hope this helps.